My name is Nova Hale. I'm 33 years old and I live in Las Vegas, the city of lights, illusion, and numbers. Out here, numbers don't just mean money. They mean power, reputation, survival. And for me, numbers were my whole business. I run a boutique agency that designs gamified marketing campaigns for corporate events. Imagine companies trying to keep 300 tired executives awake in a ballroom. That's where I come in, with interactive dashboards, real-time points, leaderboards that light up like slot machines. If Las Vegas was built on games, I just learned how to build new ones. For years, I believed I had assembled the perfect team. Brilliant strategists, sharp designers, coders who could make a screen come alive. And at the center of that circle stood Ethan Mercer, my campaign strategist. Young, ambitious, a little too charming for his own good. But he got results, or so I thought. Our biggest client was Pharos International, a billion-dollar consulting firm. They were the type of client you never wanted to lose, the kind of account that gave smaller agencies like mine credibility. And we had them locked down for 3 years, until everything collapsed. It started small. Numbers on our client reports didn't add up. At first, I thought it was a glitch, a decimal misplaced, a data sync issue. But the discrepancies grew. We'd launch a campaign promising 10,000 leads captured, only to discover half of them were mysteriously unverified. I confronted Ethan in our office late one night. "Something's off," I told him, sliding the report across the desk. He leaned back, smiling like I was overreacting. "Nova, you worry too much. That's just noise in the system. Big data always looks messy." But my gut twisted. I've lived in Vegas long enough to know when a game is rigged. Then came the phone call, the one that gutted me. Pharos's VP of Marketing spoke in a clipped, rehearsed tone. "Nova, we're moving our account to Signal Strategies." They offered us cleaner analytics and more reliable conversion funnels. I froze. Signal Strategies was a rival firm, smaller, newer, desperate to steal market share. And their dashboard looked suspiciously familiar. I stayed up all night comparing the interfaces side by side, and my hands shook as the truth dawned. Ethan hadn't just been sloppy. He had rerouted our client data pipelines, siphoning leads into Signal's system, while subtly inflating our own dashboards to keep me blind. He had sold us out, and worse, he'd sold me out. I felt the humiliation like a physical weight. My chest tight, my hands numb. Clients didn't just walk away from me, they walked away because of me. Or at least, that's how it looked from the outside. For 3 days, I couldn't leave my apartment. Vegas neon leaked through the blinds, buzzing, mocking me. I thought about every hour I'd worked, every pitch I'd fought for, every smile I'd forced through exhaustion. All of it undone in one betrayal. Ethan had played me. He'd played my company. And for the first time in my career, I didn't just feel angry. I felt small, invisible. But here's the thing about Las Vegas. This city was built on illusions, mirrors, smoke, false promises. You think the house always wins, but sometimes the magician pulls a trick you never see coming. That night, staring at the glowing strip outside my window, I whispered to myself, if Ethan wants to play with numbers, then numbers will be the weapon I use against him. I started sketching, not sure if it was desperation or inspiration. A counter dashboard, proof, evidence, a story I could weaponize. And as the idea formed, a knock rattled my door. Loud, insistent. When I opened it, the last person I expected was standing there, someone who would change everything about how I planned my revenge. The person at my door was Maya Chen, thin, intense, hair in a messy knot, eyes that had seen too many dashboards to count. She worked as a data analyst for Signal Strategies until last month. She didn't come to gloat. She came with a folder that smelled like coffee and lawsuits. "You don't know me," she said, stepping into my living room without waiting. "I used to scrub their logs. I saw your pipelines. Ethan's been creative." I let her say it. Let the words land. Creative was a polite way of saying corrupt. I poured us both coffee, though my hands still trembled. "How did you find me?" I asked. "Someone tipped me off," Maya said. "A dev at Signal who couldn't sleep with his conscience. He left a trail, anonymized traces pointing to a middleman node. It matches code I saw in Ethan's commits." She tapped the folder. I grabbed what I could before they scrubbed the audit logs. She spread printed snippets across my coffee table. Hashed query strings, IP hops, time-stamped handoffs. It looked like gibberish to anyone else. To me, it looked like a map. There are two kinds of revenge: loud, public shaming, and quiet, irrefutable proof. I wanted the latter. I didn't want a messy courtroom spectacle where Ethan could hire better lawyers and smear my reputation. I wanted data that left no room for interpretation. What do you need? I asked, because that's how I operate. Direct, resource-focused. Maya's mouth thinned. Access, server timestamps, raw logs from our own instances. Most importantly, someone who knows how to build a dashboard that tells a story for people who don't speak SQL. That was the part that made my chest flip. Building dashboards was my language. Narrative hooked to numbers. That's where I live. We worked through the night. Maya fed me fragments while I sketched wireframes on a napkin, voice low, urgent. We began with a counter dashboard concept, a timeline that could animate exactly when lead handoffs happened, side-by-side funnels showing where leads stopped being ours, a provenance trail tying every lead back to our forms, and then tracing an illicit redirect into Signal's ingestion endpoints. By dawn, we had a blueprint. But a blueprint isn't a weapon. We needed infrastructure, backup logs, forensic snapshots, a secure place to host the prototype so no one could touch it. I thought about who I could trust. My client relationships had eroded, but not all had vanished. There was Dara, a freelance dev who'd built one of our early tracking SDKs and still owed me a favor. There was Moss, an old friend who ran a privacy-focused hosting shop in Reno. I made calls I'd avoided for days. Dara answered on the third ring. Her voice was cautious. Nova? I heard. I didn't want to believe Ethan, but if you need a dev, I can ghost in. No logs left in public spaces. Moss took longer. He asked questions like a man who weighed risk in kilobytes and legal costs. When he finally agreed, he said, "We lock it down, air-gapped backups. If they try to touch it, it'll be traceable." As we assembled the team, Maya, Dara, Moss, and me, the plan sharpened. We'd build a prototype dashboard that told a simple story. Here's the lead, here's where it came from, here's the moment it left our pipeline, here's where it entered theirs. It would animate in real time, and it would be shareable as a clean cinematic video, because the court of public opinion understands storyboards more than raw logs. But the first obstacle was obvious: getting the raw data without tipping Ethan off. I couldn't just demand access. He'd see it. He'd cover tracks. We needed a shadow copy, something that mirrored our event streams without touching production systems. Dara suggested a mirrored listener, a quiet process that would subscribe to our webhook stream and write encrypted snapshots to a secure server. It would be invisible until we turned it on. Setting the listener required privilege, which meant someone with admin keys had to grant temporary access. I could not risk my remaining standing to ask for admin privileges openly. That left one ugly truth. I would have to get those credentials the old-fashioned way, through social engineering and favors. I felt every ethical gray around me like a current. This wasn't about hacking for sport. It was about rebuilding the truth. I told myself that enough times to make the edges blur. At dusk, I met Ethan at a bar we used to celebrate wins in. He looked the same, sharp cufflinks, easy grin. Nothing betrayed the man who'd turned on me. He sipped bourbon while I kept my face neutral. "Nova," he said, as if surprised to see me. "We're doing great. I told you Signal had better infrastructure. Smart move, right?" I smiled, a thin blade. "Funny you say that. I've been running some audits. There are interesting gaps." I let the sentence hang. He scoffed. "Audits? You mean those vanity numbers you love?" It's all marketing theater. He didn't see the line we'd drawn in the sand. He didn't see how close we were to cutting the rope. Back at my apartment, Maya sent a message. "We have a dev inside Signal who can forward a nightly dump. He's nervous. He needs assurance." The message read like a plea. My thumb hovered over the screen. Trust a stranger inside the enemy camp, or push harder and risk exposure. I thought about the neon strips outside my window, the city that thrives on risk. I thought about the hush after a winning hand, the particular silence of someone who knows the house has been cheated. I tapped reply. Tell him we'll handle it clean. No leaks, proof only. We build a narrative, no spectacle unless necessary. There's a moment before any big move where your whole life seems to compress into a single breath. I took that breath. Then I began to type code. The quiet listener came alive that night. Somewhere, in a server rack I didn't own, a small mirror started collecting the truth. And as the first encrypted snapshots landed in our air-gapped bucket, my screen flashed with a single unmistakable line of data. An IP handoff timestamped at 02:17:43 a.m., aligned perfectly with one of Ethan's commit messages. I stared until the room blurred. Then my phone buzzed. An unknown number, a short message. They noticed. Ethan is asking questions. You need to move faster. My fingers went cold. We decided to do it like a film. Data is sterile on its own. You show someone a CSV and their eyes glaze. But you give that same CSV a face, a voice, a heartbeat. Animate the timeline. Slow the handoff to show the human moments. Overlay a phone call, a nervous dev's stutter, and suddenly people watch. They don't need to understand SQL. They feel betrayal. Dara and I built the visualization engine while Maya cleaned the forensic snapshots. Moss staged the hosting and encryption keys. I wrote the script, short, direct, honest. It started with me, on camera, in a hotel room that smelled faintly of chlorine and old carpet. I looked into the lens and said, "This is how a client disappears." We opened with a simple hook, a live map with 3 dots, our form, a middleman node, signals ingestion endpoint, connected by little pulses. Then the animation slowed, and the pulses paused at the middleman. Text fades in. 02:17:43 a.m. Unauthorized handoff. Cut to a split screen. Our lead form on the left, signals ingestion log on the right. A red line traces a single user's email from click to harvest to ingestion. We cut to Maya, voice low, reading a curated excerpt from the anonymous dev's message. She didn't reveal the dev's name, but you could hear him in the syntax, hesitant, apologetic. We included timestamps, commit hashes, and a clear provenance chain that a non-technical person could follow if they watched carefully. Then the twist. Overlaying the animation, we placed Ethan's commit history publicly available, synchronized with the handoff timestamps. Each commit message was banal, bug fix, refactor, until one matched the exact second of a lead redirection. It looked like a clean damming crossfade. Line of code, then lead vanished. We spent 3 days polishing the video. Dara graded color so it felt cinematic. Moss mixed the audio, layering a heartbeat beneath the narration so the rhythm kept you on edge. I wrote the closing line. We track what we build. When someone steals it, the logs remember. It felt righteous and surgical at once. Who to show first was a chess move. Go public rapidly, risk legal counters and a smear. Or pick our targets, lock them in, and then reveal. I chose both. A controlled release to Ferris's executive team and a timed public post to an industry reporter I trusted. I sent the private link to Ferris at 10 a.m. with a brief. We have incontrovertible proof your leads were misdirected. Please review. This will be public in 24 hours. I watched the little dots on the analytics dashboard, link clicks, view durations. The VP, who'd been curt on the phone weeks earlier, opened the file slow. His cursor hovered over the timeline. Then he clicked the provenance chain. His reply came fast. Call me now. We hit publish an hour later. The industry reporter, Lena Ortiz, penned a short, sharp piece linking to our cinematic evidence and framing it as an inside industry expose. Within minutes, the video spread to LinkedIn threads, marketing Slack channels, an outrage subreddit, and inside Ferris's internal Slack, where junior account holders were whispering. Ethan reacted like a trapped animal. First came denial, a curt email to the team, fabricated logs, malicious actors, legal on it. Then a lawyer letter to our hosting provider demanding immediate takedown. And then, what surprised me most? A public post from Signal Strategies. A polished statement about data integrity, their commitment to transparency, and a thinly veiled jab that questioned the provenance of our evidence. I felt a wash of adrenaline so fierce, my knees trembled. We had lit a fuse. The court of public opinion was noisy and messy, and importantly, not entirely sympathetic yet. People shared the video, but others argued Foster's law. For every whistleblower, there's a counterclaim. That night, we monitored. The air-gapped bucket where snapshots landed was supposed to be untouchable. Moss had built an alert system that pinged the team if any unusual access occurred. At 02:19 a.m., 2 minutes after the incriminating handoff timestamp, a silent alert flashed red. Someone had attempted to access the bucket. The attempt showed a failed SSH login, then a successful token exchange, then a deletion attempt, one file targeted. The IP resolved to an address that, by the tracer route, came through a commercial hosting node in the same metro as Moss's service. My throat went dry. I called Moss. He picked up on the second ring, voice flat. I see it. The token came from a rotated key that should be locked in HSM. It shouldn't be possible. Did you share the key? I asked. No, he said. I would never. His voice trailed, then quiet. Either someone compromised my node, or someone inside made it look like that. The room closed in, trust that had been carved from necessity turned brittle. Maya, usually steady, whispered, We're not just exposing fraud. We're playing a game where the other side knows the board. Ethan's public lawyer had already called our hosting provider. Lena texted, They're trying to scrub the evidence. You need to make copies, safe places, distribute widely, now. I felt the old wash of panic, but underneath it, something else, the calm of someone who has planned for contingencies. We spun up redundant snapshots, distributed encrypted copies to 3 different jurisdictions, and seeded a secure cache with Lena. We timestamped everything with notarized hashes and a cold wallet-proof ledger. Still, the question hung like smoke. Who tried to delete our file? An outside attacker. Ethan cleaning his tracks? Or, worse, the mole in our little coalition who panicked and tried to cover tracks? I stared at the logs until dawn, watching IPs and nodes flicker like guilty moths. Then Maya's voice on my headset. We just got a DM. She read it aloud. Signed, Watcher. The message contained a single sentence and a link. You only get one clean exit. Choose. My stomach fell out. My hands hovered over the keyboard. Someone was watching the game from the shadows, and they had just moved. The message from Watcher sat on our screen like a live grenade. You only get one clean exit. Choose. I reread it over and over. My team's faces were bathed in the glow of their monitors. Maya's jaw tight, Dara biting her lip, Moss pale under the flicker of his dashboard. Nobody spoke. Finally, Moss broke the silence. This is inside baseball. Somebody knows exactly what we're building. And they're close enough to scare us, not destroy us. Yet, Dara snapped, so who leaked? Who in this room shared a key, a log, a whisper? Her eyes flicked toward Moss, then Maya. I felt the sting, because suspicion spreads faster than truth. I raised both hands. Stop. We don't eat each other alive. That's what Ethan wants. Division. But the truth was, I didn't know if I believed myself. The failed deletion attempt had Moss's fingerprints. Maya had walked into my apartment with secret files. Dara was loyal but had debts. Whispers of gambling trouble in Reno. I realized I didn't fully know any of them. And still, I needed all of them. Meanwhile, Ethan wasn't standing still. His lawyers filed an injunction request claiming we were distributing defamatory material. They wanted our video pulled. And Signal Strategies had launched a polished counter-campaign, posting slick infographics about their security protocols and dismissing our evidence as deep-faked dashboards. The internet was split. Some people hailed us as heroes. Others laughed at another conspiracy theory. And Pharos? Their execs stayed silent. Too silent. I paced my living room at 3 a.m., phone pressed to my ear. The VP of Pharos finally picked up. His voice was low, weary. Nova, you don't understand. This isn't just about your firm. Signal's got backing, deep backing. If we admit wrongdoing, the fallout goes nuclear. We're evaluating. Evaluating? My voice cracked. They stole from us, from you. How much more evidence do you need? He sighed. We can't move until the smoke clears. Don't push us into the line of fire. The line of fire, that's exactly where I already stood. When I hung up, my phone buzzed again. A new DM from Watcher. TikTok Nova. Time's almost gone. I wanted to throw the phone across the room. Instead, I stared at the strip outside my window. Those neon temples to chance. Every light a reminder that risk was the only currency Vegas respected. So I called the team into a war room the next day. We rented a small co-working pod. Blinds drawn, screens mirrored. I laid it out straight. Watcher's real. They know too much. But we finished this. We build redundancy, seed more copies, and prep a final release that burns so bright it can't be ignored. If one of us leaks, we'll know, and we'll deal with it. Maya leaned in. You're saying we push the big button? I nodded. We don't wait for courts. We don't wait for Pharaohs. We go nuclear first. The room was silent. Then Dara whispered, and what if Watcher isn't Ethan? What if it's someone bigger? Her words hung like smoke. Before I could answer, my laptop chimed. A calendar invite. Sender, Ethan Mercer. Subject line, let's talk. Tonight, just you. The location was a rooftop bar overlooking the strip. No attachments, just a note. You don't know the whole story. I stared at the screen. My pulse raced. Was this the trap that finally snapped shut, or the key to understanding who Watcher really was? End of part 4. Continue to part 5. Las Vegas looks different from the rooftop. The strip is a glittering artery, pumping neon blood through the desert. But up here, the noise softens. You can almost pretend the city isn't built on bets and broken promises. Ethan was already waiting when I arrived. Crisp blazer, whiskey in hand, leaning on the glass railing like he owned the skyline. He smiled as if we were old friends. Nova, he said smoothly, I knew you'd come. I kept my distance. You've got 30 minutes before I walk. He chuckled, swirling his drink. Always the clock watcher, but you don't even know what game you're in. I clenched my fists. I know you rerouted my clients. I know you sold me out. His smile thinned. Yes, but that wasn't the plan. Not the real one. The air around us seemed to thrum. I stepped closer, my heels sharp against the stone tiles. Then enlighten me, because from where I stand, you're just a thief with better PR. Ethan leaned in, voice low. Signal Strategies isn't the top of the chain. They're just a mask. The real players, the ones backing them, want scale. They want control over the entire lead gen ecosystem. I was recruited. If I didn't play along, I'd be finished. And so would you. My stomach twisted. So you threw me under the bus to save yourself. He shook his head. No, I brought you here to warn you. Watcher isn't me. Watcher is them. And they're watching both of us. I stared, heart pounding. His eyes looked almost genuine, like the man I'd once trusted. Almost. You expect me to believe this? I hissed. He set his glass down carefully. You've already felt it. The hack attempt, the DM, the pressure on Pharaohs. That's not my doing. That's the shadow network behind Signal. I just played the role they gave me. A gust of desert wind rattled the glasses on nearby tables. My mind spun. Maya's files, Moss's compromised node, Dara's whispered fears. Could Ethan be telling the truth? Then he leaned closer, whispering like a confession. They don't want your dashboard, Nova. They want your method, the way you tell stories with data. That's the real weapon, and they'll burn every bridge to own it. The rooftop lights flickered once, just a glitch, but it made me shiver. Ethan's phone buzzed on the table. He glanced at it, face tightening. They know we're talking. We don't have much time. He slid a flash drive across the table toward me. This is the piece you're missing. Logs I couldn't bury. Take it. Decide for yourself. But if you go public with this, you won't just be fighting me. You'll be fighting the network. I stared at the small drive, its metal catching the neon glow. My hand hovered, torn between grabbing it and walking away. That's when a shadow fell across the table. A tall figure in a dark jacket, face hidden by the rooftop lights, stepped into view, and in a calm, almost bored voice, he said, Nova Hale, time to choose. The figure stepped closer, his shadow stretching across the rooftop tiles. The city roared below us, horns, laughter, the endless hum of slot machines. But up here, the air was knife-sharp. He didn't sit, he didn't smile. He just stood between me and Ethan, like a wall. Nova Hale, he repeated. You can take the flash drive, or you can walk away. But if you publish, you'll make enemies you don't even have names for. Ethan shifted uneasily, for once not the confident strategist. You don't have to do this, he muttered. The man ignored him, his gaze locked on me, steady, unnerving. Do you really think your little dashboard is just about corporate leads? This is infrastructure, information control. And control is currency. My pulse hammered in my ears. I forced my voice to stay steady. Who are you? He tilted his head as if amused. Some call me Watcher, but I'm just the messenger. The network doesn't like noise. You've made a lot of noise. I wanted to spit back that Ethan was the one who betrayed me, who made this mess. But the words stuck in my throat, because deep down I knew what he meant. My cinematic takedown had gone viral. I'd made the shadow network visible, and that painted a target not only on Ethan, but on me. Ethan pushed the flash drive toward me again, his voice cracked. Nova, listen. They'll crush you if you go alone, but if you take this, if you see what's on it, you'll understand how to fight. The stranger's lips curved into something between a smirk and a warning. Or you'll understand why you can't win. The wind whipped my hair across my face. Neon light flickered on the glass railing, reflecting 3 figures locked in a standoff. My fingers hovered near the flash drive. I thought of Maya, hunched over logs with tired eyes, Moss guarding servers like a fortress. Dara, her hands shaking but still coding through the night. They believed in me, and now their lives were tangled in this mess. I looked at Ethan. His eyes were raw, desperate. I looked at the stranger. His presence was calm, inevitable, like gravity. Finally, I whispered, "If you don't want me to fight, why warn me?" The stranger leaned close enough for me to see a faint scar running down his jaw. His voice dropped to a whisper only I could hear. Because sometimes the house doesn't need to win. Sometimes it just needs to remind you who built the casino. Then, as suddenly as he appeared, he turned and walked away, disappearing into the rooftop crowd like smoke. Ethan exhaled shakily. "Now do you believe me?" I stared at the flash drive between us. Its metal caught the neon glow, pulsing like a heartbeat. I didn't pick it up, not yet. Instead, I whispered to myself, if this is a game, then I'll learn the rules, and then I'll rewrite them. But even as I said it, my phone buzzed. A message from Maya lit up the screen. "Nova, something's wrong. Dara's gone, her workstation is wiped." My breath caught. The rooftop spun. The message from Maya froze me where I stood. "Dara's gone, her workstation is wiped." I left the rooftop without touching Ethan's flash drive. I didn't care about the whiskey glasses or the skyline anymore. I only cared about the hollow panic in my chest. Back at the co-working pod, the place felt wrong. Dara's chair was empty, cables dangling, her laptop bag missing. On her desk was a single sticky note, blank except for one smudge, as if someone had pressed a thumb hard against the paper, then thought better of writing anything. Maya's hands shook as she pulled up the access logs. Look, last login from her account was at 2:15 a.m., then nothing. Full wipe initiated at 2:17, same time as the intrusion on Moss's server. The timestamp hit me like a punch. Dara's disappearance wasn't random, it was synchronized. Moss leaned against the wall, arms crossed tight. Either she ran or she was taken. "Taken?" I echoed. He shrugged grimly. "This isn't just corporate games anymore. People disappear when money and power get deep enough." I wanted to argue, but the emptiness in Dara's chair made my throat close. Maya whispered, "I don't think she betrayed us. She wouldn't wipe her own machine clean. She'd fight." I wanted to believe that. God, I wanted to. But a shadow of doubt coiled inside me. I pulled everyone in close. "Listen, we don't have the luxury of guessing. Dara's gone. That means our timeline just got shorter. Ethan claims this network wants my method. Watcher warned me once. If they've moved on Dara, we're next." Moss muttered, "So what now? We go to the police, the FBI? You think they'll care about dashboards and stolen leads?" I shook my head. "No, we make this too big to bury. That was always the plan." Maya looked up, her eyes rimmed red. "Then we need the flash drive." The words hung heavy. The drive Ethan had slid across the rooftop table, the one I hadn't touched. I closed my eyes, saw his desperate face, the scarred stranger's warning. My gut twisted, but every road led back to that drive. I went back alone that night. The rooftop was empty now, glasses cleared, music echoing faintly from below. I found the table where we sat earlier. For a moment, I thought it was gone. Then I saw it, tucked under the edge of the metal chair, taped in place. Ethan had left it, or someone had made sure I'd still find it. I pocketed the drive and hurried home, locking the door behind me. Moss had set up an isolated machine, no internet, no external connections. We plugged the drive in, my heart hammered with every click. Inside were logs, raw, unfiltered. Not just ours, not just signals, but dozens of companies, whole industries, healthcare, retail, political campaigns. All with the same hidden reroutes. the same ghost nodes. Maya gasped. This isn't theft. This is a pipeline. They're siphoning everything. And then I saw it. My name, my agency, my dashboard code snippets. Listed like an asset, tagged with a price. A chill ran through me. Ethan was right. They didn't just want my client. They wanted my voice, my design, the way I shaped numbers into narrative. Before I could process it, Moss cursed. We've got a problem. He turned his monitor toward me. The machine we swore was offline had just pinged an outbound connection. And on the screen, in bold white letters across the terminal, appeared a message. Hello, Nova. The words on the terminal burned into my vision. Hello, Nova. We yanked the Ethernet cables, even though the machine was supposed to be offline. Moss cursed, pulling the power cord. But the message remained on the dark screen. White letters lingering like a ghost image. Maya whispered, That's not possible. No connection, no ports. How? I cut her off, my chest tightening. It means they're already inside, not just our servers, our code. Our air gaps aren't air anymore. The room fell into a heavy silence. The humming of the fluorescent lights above felt deafening. Moss slammed his fist on the desk. This is a setup. Dara's workstation wipes. My node compromised. Now this? Someone on the inside is feeding them. His eyes flicked to Maya. She shot back, voice sharp. Don't you dare. I've risked everything bringing those logs. Why would I burn my own skin? Because you walked in out of nowhere, Moss snapped. Because none of us knew you before last week. I raised my voice, cutting through the rising storm. Enough. Pointing fingers doesn't stop what's already happening. We need to think like them. If they can turn our fortress into glass, then we turn their glass into mirrors. Maya blinked. What does that mean? It means we stop hiding. We make them chase us in the open. Even as I said it, my phone buzzed again. A video message, unmarked sender. I pressed play, and the screen filled with Dara's face. Her hair was messy, her voice strained. She spoke fast, like she had only seconds. Nova, they have me. I don't know where. They want your method, your code. Don't give it to them. Fight. Please. The feed cut. Static swallowed her image. Maya's eyes widened. She's alive. Moss muttered, or it's a deep fake. The doubt carved into me like a blade. The voice sounded real. The fear in her eyes felt too raw to fake. But I'd seen what this network could build. Illusions sharper than truth. I steadied myself. Either way, it means they want me rattled, which means they're scared. Maya leaned close. So what's the move? I thought of Ethan's flash drive, the logs of industries, the scarred stranger's words. Sometimes the house doesn't need to win. Sometimes it just needs to remind you who built the casino. I swallowed hard. We stop playing defense. We go inside their walls. Moss frowned. You mean infiltration? I nodded. Exactly. If they're already inside our systems, we use the connection. We write it back. The room went still. It was reckless, maybe suicidal. But it was the only way left. Maya whispered, If we do this, there's no undo. We'll be on their radar permanently. I met her gaze. We already are. I turned to the dead monitor. You said hello. Fine. Now I'll say hello back. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, ready to send the first trace command. That's when the screen flickered alive again on its own. New text scrolled across, line by line. Welcome inside, Nova. We've been waiting. My throat went dry. The words on the screen scrolled slowly, deliberate, like someone typing just for me. Welcome inside, Nova. We've been waiting. Moss swore under his breath. Maya gripped the edge of the desk until her knuckles turned white. I just stared, my breath shallow, forcing myself not to look away. I typed, Who are you? The cursor blinked, then new text appeared. We are the pathway. You are the story. Give us your method. My stomach nodded. They didn't want our clients or even Ethan's treachery anymore. They wanted my way of turning numbers into narrative, the very thing that made me valuable. Maya whispered, Don't answer. They'll trace the keystrokes. But Moss shook his head. They're already in. The trace is happening whether we type or not. I forced myself to think. If they were watching, then I could make them watch what I wanted. This wasn't about defense anymore. It was performance. I typed again, slowly. What if I don't? The reply came instantly. Then Dara disappears forever. The room froze. Maya's eyes filled with tears. Moss clenched his jaws so hard I thought his teeth might crack. The machine beeped, and a video feed opened automatically. No controls, no way to stop it. Dara again, her face pale, eyes darting. Nova, don't give them what they want. I'd rather vanish than see you hand it over. The feed cut to black. I closed my eyes, heart pounding like a war drum. They're bluffing, I whispered, though I wasn't sure if I believed it. Maya snapped. What if they're not? What if she's already… Stop, my voice cracked sharp. We don't fold, not now. I turned to Moss. Can we use the connection, write it back? He hesitated. Maybe, it's not stable. It's like ghost pathways. They open, then vanish. If I try to push through, we might burn Dara's signal completely, or fry our own machines. Then we take the risk, I said. We go hunting. Maya touched my arm. Nova, if we go in, there's no line between them and us. We'll be in their territory. No firewalls, no protection. I met her gaze. My voice came out low, steady. We already lost the illusion of protection. All we have left is control of the story. If we get inside, maybe we can rewrite it. Moss's fingers hovered above the keyboard. Say the word. I looked at the blank black screen, still glowing faintly with their threat. I thought of Dara's voice, of Ethan's warning, of the scarred stranger whispering about the casino. I nodded. Do it. Moss typed furiously. Commands flashed, screens filled with tracer routes, encrypted tunnels, proxy loops. The room felt like it was vibrating, the hum of servers rising like a storm. Then the terminal blinked. A new prompt appeared. Access granted. And suddenly we were inside. It wasn't files or directories. It was an architecture, vast, shifting, like walking into a neon labyrinth. Every node glowed like a beating heart, connected by thin red threads. Some pulsed slow, others throbbed fast, alive with stolen data. Maya gasped. This isn't a server farm, it's a living map of the whole damn network. And at the center of the labyrinth, one node glowed brighter than the rest. Cold blue, steady, like an eye. Text scrolled again. Hello, storyteller. Find her if you can. Maya grabbed my wrist. They've made Dara into bait. My throat tightened, but I whispered back, then we follow the thread. The neon labyrinth stretched in every direction, glowing nodes pulsing like veins of light. Each thread we followed split into 5 more, and each path led deeper into the unknown. Moss's voice was tight. We can't brute force this. The network is alive. It's designed to disorient us. Maya leaned closer to her screen. No, look. One of the red threads, see how it flickers? That's not random, it's a heartbeat. Dara's signal. I focused, and yes, one thread pulsed differently, irregular, frantic, like someone pounding against a locked door. That's her, I whispered. We latched onto it. Following the thread deeper, commands scrolled across the screen. The labyrinth shifted, nodes spinning like roulette wheels, pathways collapsing and reappearing. It felt like walking on quicksand that wanted to swallow us whole. Suddenly, the path forked into 2 identical routes. Both threads flickered with the same frantic rhythm. Moss cursed. They cloned it. One's Dara, the other's a decoy. Maya clenched her jaw. If we pick wrong, we could lose her forever. I closed my eyes. Listening to the rhythm, each pulse felt like a voice. I remembered Dara's nervous laugh, the way she always tapped her pen 3 times when thinking. I leaned closer to the flicker. This one, I said, pointing to the left path. Moss hesitated, then rerouted our trace. The screen rippled as we tunneled through. The labyrinth opened into a vast chamber of nodes. Hundreds, maybe thousands. Each one tagged with industries, corporations, even government agencies. Lines of stolen data pulsed through like veins of stolen blood. Maya's voice cracked. This isn't just lead gen. This is everything. Elections, medical records, defense contracts. They're not stealing money, they're stealing trust. At the center, Dara's signal glowed weakly, trapped inside a blue cage-like node. Her icon flickered, distorted, as if her very presence had been digitized into bait. I whispered, "We found her?" Moss started typing furiously. "I can breach the cage, but it'll trigger alarms. They'll know exactly where we are. Then we make it loud," I said. "We distract them." Maya's hands trembled as she opened a new window. "We can broadcast, turn their own labyrinth against them. Every stolen packet, every rerouted lead, we flood it back out into the open. They wanted quiet theft. We'll give them a storm." My heart pounded. If we did this, there was no hiding again. The network would come after us with everything. But I looked at Dara's faint signal, flickering like a candle almost out. And I knew. "We light the fire," I said. Moss hit enter. The screens flared. Sirens we couldn't hear blazed in the code. Red nodes erupted, threads snapping like live wires. Data poured like a river bursting its dam. Screens around us flashed headlines, files, raw logs, all spilling into the open internet. And then, in the middle of the chaos, Dara's cage cracked. Her signal flared once, bright, alive. But just as we reached for it, the entire labyrinth froze. The blue eye at the center widened, locking onto us. Text scrolled across every screen at once. "You should not have come here." The words blazed across every screen. "You should not have come here." Then the labyrinth shifted. The glowing threads snapped and twisted into jagged spikes. Nodes that once pulsed calmly now flared like sirens. Red light strobing across the virtual chamber. Moss cursed. "They're collapsing the pathways, trying to box us in." Maya's hands flew over her keyboard. "If they cage us here, we're done. We'll fry the trace and Dara with it." I locked my eyes on the faint blue cage where Dara's signal flickered. Then we moved faster. Moss gritted his teeth, typing commands. The cage pulsed, resisting him like a living thing. With every attempt, new warnings flooded the screen. "Intrusion detected. Purge sequence initiated." Maya gasped. "They're trying to erase her completely." My chest tightened. "Not while I'm here." I dropped into the console, fingers moving without thought. Years of building dashboards, telling stories with numbers, flowed through me. I wasn't just coding, I was weaving. Every graph, every flow, every pattern I'd ever designed, I bent it into a weapon. I overlaid our trace onto their purge scripts, turning their deletion into visualization. Instead of vanishing, Dara's signal lit up like a flare. Moss shouted, "You're amplifying her." "Exactly," I said through clenched teeth. "If they want to erase her, we'll make her too bright to ignore." The labyrinth howled, screens flickering, data streams buckling. The blue cage cracked again, shards scattering into neon dust. Dara's signal pulsed stronger, reaching for us. Then the retaliation hit. Every node around us erupted, launching counterscripts like arrows. Log files scrambled, code injected, proxy loops overloaded. Moss fought to hold the line. Maya rerouted packets through dummy tunnels. My console flooded with red error messages. One arrow slipped through, slashing across our system. Sparks literally burst from Moss's rig, smoke curling from the vents. He yanked the power cord, coughing. "We're burning hardware," he shouted. "Keep going," I barked. "We're almost there." The cage shattered with a blinding flash. Dara's signal surged free, merging with our trace. For one heartbeat, her voice broke through the speakers, raw and terrified. "Nova, is that you?" Tears stung my eyes. "Yes, we've got you." But even as her signal wrapped into ours, the blue eye at the center of the labyrinth glared wide. Text scrolled across in jagged bursts. "She is yours, but the price is set." The labyrinth shuddered violently. Whole sectors of nodes began collapsing into black voids, dragging data down like quicksand. The network wasn't just retaliating, it was sacrificing pieces of itself to trap us. Maya's voice broke. "They're crashing the map. If we don't pull out, we all go down with it." I looked at Dara's fragile signal, newly tethered to ours. I looked at Moss's smoking machine, Maya's trembling hands. I had a choice: cut the connection and save ourselves, or stay and risk being swallowed to keep Dara alive. My throat tightened. No one gets left behind. I slammed enter. The system screamed back, alarms, errors, collapsing nodes. For a moment, the world was nothing but light and noise. And then silence. The screen went black. Moss panted. Did we lose her?" Before I could answer, a new sound filled the room. A voice, faint but alive, whispering through the speakers. "Nova, I'm here. Nova, I'm here." Dara's voice was faint, shaky, but real. For a moment, the room was nothing but stunned silence. Maya pressed her hand to her mouth. Moss sagged in his chair, relief and exhaustion spilling out of him. I felt tears prick my eyes. "Dara, we've got you. Just hold on." Her signal flickered on the screen, weak but steady. "I don't know where they took me. It's dark, cold, but I felt you pull me back. I knew you wouldn't leave me." Maya whispered, "She's alive. We actually did it." But Moss shook his head. "Not yet. Look." The labyrinth map, what remained of it, was collapsing. nodes falling into black holes of void. The blue eye was gone, but its echo lingered in the code, like a warning growled through clenched teeth. Across the console, new text scrolled. Digital walls fall fast. Physical walls are harder. My blood ran cold. Maya whispered, "They know where we are." As if on cue, the lights in the co-working pod flickered. A low hum vibrated through the walls. Outside, I heard the muffled slam of a door. Heavy boots on tile. Moss yanked the machine's power cords. "We're burned. Pack it. Now." We scrambled. Laptops shoved into bags. Drives yanked free. Notes torn into scraps. Dara's voice still echoed from the speakers. "Nova, what's happening?" I forced calm into my voice. "We're coming for you. Just stay with us." Then the sound of footsteps, closer. 3, 4, maybe more. Maya's face was pale. "They're here!" For a second, panic clawed at me. But then something sharper cut through. Anger. I had spent weeks being hunted, manipulated, gaslit. And now they thought they could corner me in my own city? I zipped my bag and slung it over my shoulder. We don't run scared. We run smart. We slipped out the back exit, down a concrete stairwell that smelled of dust and bleach. Moss carried the smoking rig like a dead body. Maya clutched the bag with the flash drive. At the bottom, we pushed through into a deserted alley. Neon buzzed overhead, throwing sharp light onto cracked pavement. That's when my phone buzzed again. A new message, unsigned. "Run, storyteller, we're right behind you." I whipped my head up. At the end of the alley, a silhouette leaned against the wall, too still, watching us. And slowly, he began to walk forward. The silhouette at the end of the alley stepped forward, slow and deliberate. Neon light caught his jacket. Plain black, no logos, no marks, like he belonged to no one. Maya whispered, "Nova." "Move," I said. We bolted down the alley. Moss lugged the dead machine. Maya clutched the bag with the flash drive. And my lungs burned as my boots pounded pavement. Behind us, the man's footsteps were unhurried but heavy, like he knew the city would bend for him. We turned onto Fremont Street, swallowed by neon chaos. Tourists laughed, buskers juggled, screens blared with casino ads. But even in the crowd, I felt eyes on us. More shadows slipped into step, blending with the flow of people. 3, maybe 4. "They're hurting us," Moss hissed. I pulled us into a side corridor, past a service door with peeling paint. My heart hammered. I pulled a hairpin from my pocket, old habit, and popped the lock. The door clicked open. Inside, we stumbled into a maintenance tunnel, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. The air reeked of bleach and dust. It was quieter here, but footsteps still echoed behind us. Maya's voice shook. "They're not giving up." "They won't," I said. "Not until they take the drive. Or us." At the next junction, we skidded to a halt. 2 more figures blocked the far exit, silhouettes sharp against the glow. Moss cursed. "We're boxed." I scanned the tunnel. Pipes, vents, scaffolding. Vegas was all show on the outside. But backstage, it was skeleton and steel. My mind raced. "Up," I said, pointing at a ladder bolted to the wall. We climbed, boots clanging against metal rungs. As we pulled ourselves onto a catwalk above, shadows flooded the tunnel below. The enforcers didn't run. They looked up, calm, patient, like hunters who knew their prey would tire first. Then one of them spoke. His voice carried, low and steady. "Nova Hale, you've made a mess. Time to clean it up." Maya clutched my arm. "They know your name." I stared down at them, chest heaving, fury rising through the fear. "Then they'll know what happens when you corner me." I yanked a wrench loose from the catwalk railing and hurled it. It smashed a fluorescent tube, sparks raining down. For a second, darkness swallowed the tunnel. "Run!" I shouted. We sprinted across the catwalk, deeper into the guts of the city. Behind us, in the shadows, the enforcers followed, silent, relentless. We burst out of the service tunnel into the raw blaze of the strip. Neon towers stabbed the night sky. Tourists stumbled with yard-long cocktails. Music blasted from casino doors. Fountains danced in choreographed arcs. For a second, it almost felt normal. Then Maya grabbed my arm. "Behind us!" The shadows spilled out of the tunnel, blending into the crowd with terrifying ease. No weapons drawn, no masks. Just ordinary men in black jackets, faceless in the chaos. But their eyes never left us. Moss hissed. "We're exposed." "Good," I said, breath ragged. "Let's make noise." We pushed through the throngs. weaving past gamblers and club kids. I spotted a street performer with a mic and amp, belting pop covers under a shower of LED lights. Without hesitation, I grabbed the mic mid-song. "Listen to me," I shouted. My voice boomed over the strip. "They're coming for us because we exposed their theft. Look around you, every screen you see, every ad you click, every number you trust. It's been rigged. And now they want to erase the proof." The crowd froze, confused, half-drunken. Phones lifted, cameras rolled. Maya shoved the flash drive into my hand. I held it high under the neon glow. "This is the evidence, and if they take us, they'll bury the truth forever." The men in black stopped at the edge of the crowd. They hadn't expected this. Exposure, witnesses, a sea of recording lenses. One of them spoke, calm, almost amused. "Nova Hale, always the performer." I felt the words strike, but I didn't flinch. Instead, I leaned into the mic, voice steady. "You tried to own the story, but I'm the storyteller, and I don't scare easy." The crowd buzzed, people shouting, some chanting my name. The strip had turned into a stage, and I was holding the spotlight. But then the fountains behind us roared higher, drowning the noise. And I realized it wasn't part of the show. The city grid was flickering. Screens glitched, neon signs stuttered, slot machines froze mid-spin. Maya's face went pale. "They're cutting power. They're going to black out the strip." And as the first wave of neon lights died, plunging half the boulevard into darkness, I felt the ground shift beneath me. Half the strip went dark. Neon signs fizzled into silence. Casino billboards froze mid-flash. The fountains stuttered and died. For the first time in years, Vegas looked naked, its glittering mask ripped away. Screams rippled through the crowd. Tourists clutched drinks, phones lit like fireflies. Confusion spreading like wildfire. And in the heart of it all, the men in black jackets stood calm, steady, their eyes locked on us. Maya gripped my wrist. "Nova, what do we do?" My pulse thundered. We could disappear now, slip away in the panic. But if we did, the network would rewrite the narrative by sunrise. "No," I muttered. "We turn their blackout into our spotlight." I climbed onto the street performer's amp. My voice cut through the chaos, raw and fierce. "They think cutting power will cut the truth. But you're all recording this. You're witnesses. Don't let them erase it. Don't let them erase us." The crowd, drunk and terrified, shifted. Some jeered, some cheered, but most lifted their phones higher. Cameras pointed at me, at Maya clutching the flash drive, at Moss with his scorched rig. The story was spreading in real time, every shaky live stream a shard of proof. The men in black stepped forward. One raised his hand, palm open, as if inviting me to surrender. I shook my head. "Not tonight." Moss slammed the rig onto the pavement, prying open the scorched casing. "I can trigger a burst," he said, sweat dripping. "Push every file on the drive out at once. It'll ride the cell towers, Wi-Fi, anything still standing. They can't stop all of it." Maya's eyes widened. "That's a one-shot." "Exactly," Moss growled. The enforcers moved closer, closing the circle. The crowd's shouts grew sharper, fear and thrill colliding. I felt the weight of every eye, every lens. I held out my hand. Moss pressed the flash drive into my palm, metal hot from his grip. "This is it," I whispered. I dropped to my knees, slotted the drive into the cracked rig, and slammed the enter key. The machine screamed, fans whirring, sparks flying. Then the screens around the strip flickered back to life. Not casino ads, not neon billboards, but our evidence. Logs, dashboards, stolen data, clips of Dara's face, begging me not to give in. All of it spilling across Vegas like a confession written in fire. The crowd gasped. Phones lit brighter, people shouted, filming the screens. The strip had become our theater, and the blackout was our stage. But the men in black didn't panic. They only adjusted, moving closer. One of them pulled something from his jacket. Not a gun, a phone. He pressed a single button, and instantly, every screen went red. Words appeared in bold, burning letters. "Nova Hale is a fraud." The crowd roared, confused, divided, the story tearing itself in two. Maya gasped, "They're hijacking it!" I gritted my teeth. Then we fight for the ending. The strip glowed blood red. Every billboard, every casino screen, every fountain projection screamed the same words. "Nova Hale is a fraud." The crowd roared. Some booed, some cheered, Some shouted my name like a curse. The story was slipping from my hands, twisting into their weapon. Maya tugged my sleeve. Nova, they're winning. The whole grid's theirs. I clenched the mic tighter. Not all of it. I raised my voice, raw and unflinching. Look at how fast they react. If I were a fraud, why would they spend this much power, this much money to silence me? You're watching them prove me right. The crowd faltered. Some faces shifted, confusion cutting through the anger. Phones kept rolling, live streams beaming every word. Moss crouched by the busted rig, hands flying. I can inject overlays, not much. Maybe piggyback a few frames onto the billboards before they wipe me. Do it, I said. Within seconds, the red screens glitched. Between flashes of fraud, snippets of truth bled through. Our dashboards, Ethan's name on forged reroutes, Dara's flickering face. The crowd gasped. The battle wasn't just code, it was theater, spectacle. And Vegas was built for spectacle. The enforcers pressed closer, their formation tightening. One hissed into a hidden mic, eyes locked on me. Maya whispered urgently, "They're coming in, Nova. You've got seconds." I shouted into the mic, my voice cutting through the chaos. They want you confused, but the truth is messy. It fights back, and tonight, it's fighting through us. For a moment, the strip itself seemed to pulse with my words. The crowd erupted, half in cheers, half in jeers, but louder. Louder was all I needed. Moss growled, "I'm tapped. They'll shut it down any second." Then my phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. "Nova, step left." Instinct, more than trust, made me obey. I pulled Maya with me, just as a crack split the pavement where I'd been standing. An electrical surge shot up, sparks showering the air. The crowd screamed. The enforcers staggered back. I stared at the message again, my pulse racing. "Keep going, you're not alone. Watcher." I looked up at the sea of flickering neon, the chaos of voices, the weight of the story teetering on the edge. And for the first time, I didn't feel cornered. I felt the fight turn. The strip buzzed like a broken circuit. Half in blackout, half ablaze with stolen signals. The crowd was loud, messy, electric. And for the first time, I felt the current flow toward us. Watcher's message echoed in my head. "Keep going, you're not alone." Maya's grip was tight on my arm. "Nova, if they black out the rest of the grid, this ends." "Then we end it first," I said. Moss hunched over the scorched rig, sparks still twitching in its guts. "I can piggyback Watcher's signal. If they're in the system, we ride their channel to boost the broadcast. But it's raw, unstable. It could fry everything." "Do it," I said, without hesitation. Maya bit her lip. "If this crashes, we lose Dara's signal. We lose all of it." I looked at her, steady. "Or we burn it so bright the whole world sees it before it dies." Moss slammed a key. The rig screamed, screens around us spasming. For a heartbeat, everything went black. Then Vegas lit up like never before. Every dormant billboard, every glitching casino screen, every LED strip snapped to life. And they didn't show fraud. They showed truth. Dashboards pouring like rivers of code. Ethan's betrayal in sharp lines. Dara's face alive, no longer bait, but witness. The reroutes, the pipelines, the industries, siphoned dry. The crowd gasped as the city became a confession booth. Phones filmed, voices shouted, streams exploded online. The blackout had turned into the brightest stage. The men in black froze, their calm masks cracking. One barked into his calm, desperate. Another shoved through the crowd, reaching for us. "Nova!" Maya screamed. I held the mic like a blade. "This is the story you tried to bury. But Vegas is built on people who bet against the house. And tonight, the house loses." The crowd erupted, some laughing, some chanting my name, some booing, but all watching. That was enough. Moss yanked free cables, the rig smoking like a dying star. "It's overheating, seconds left." Then Dara's voice cut through the static, stronger now, fierce. "Nova, don't stop. I'm with you. We're all with you." I felt a shiver run through me. For the first time since this started, Dara didn't sound like a victim. She sounded like fire. And as the screens blazed brighter, drowning out the red lies, I realized we'd turned the tide. But then the pavement trembled beneath us. A low rumble spread underfoot, deeper than traffic, deeper than fountains. Maya's eyes went wide. "They're not done. They're here." The ground trembled under our feet. The strip's neon heartbeat faltered. screens flickering between our truth and their lies. The crowd's chants fractured, half screaming my name, half cursing it. Then the boots came. Dozens of men in black jackets pushed through the mob, moving with military precision. They didn't brandish weapons. They didn't need to. Their formation was a weapon. Maya gasped. "There's too many." Moss pulled me close, voice raw. "Nova, we can't hold both fronts. Either we keep the broadcast alive, or we run." I looked around. Dara's signal pulsed weakly on the rig, tethered to us by a thread of code. The crowd was live streaming, phones blazing like torches, and the enforcers were closing step by step. Running would save us for now, but it would kill the story. "No," I said. My voice was steadier than I felt. "We don't run, we finish it here." Moss's eyes widened. "That means we stand and fight." "Exactly." Maya clutched the flash drive like it was holy. "Then how?" I raised the mic. "We use them." I turned to the crowd, my voice cutting through the fear. "Look around you. They're not here to protect you. They're here to bury what you just saw. If they take us, your silence is next. So film, share. Don't let them win." Phones rose higher, shouts swelled, and the enforcers faltered, just slightly, because even power hates a lens. Moss snarled, "I'll overload the rig, push one last surge, but when it blows, it's gone." "Do it," I said. He typed furiously, sweat dripping. The rig rattled, sparks spitting, fans howling like jet engines. The enforcers surged forward. Maya screamed. I braced myself. And then, from the screens above, Dara's face appeared, clear, strong, alive. Her voice rang over the strip. "They want my silence, but I am here. We are here. And Nova is not a fraud. She is the proof." The crowd exploded, cheering, screaming, chanting. The enforcers froze in the sea of cameras, their certainty cracking. But then the rig shrieked, smoke billowing. Moss shouted, "It's at collapse point." I grabbed Maya's hand, Dara's voice echoing in the chaos, and yelled, "Then let it collapse." Moss slammed the enter key. The rig detonated in a burst of light, screens flooding with raw data, reroutes, proof blazing across every tower. The strip turned white-hot with truth. And then the machine died. The lights cut, silence fell. For one terrifying breath, it was over. Then the crowd roared again, because their phones were still streaming. The truth had already escaped. The enforcers closed in anyway, and I realized we'd won the story, but we might not survive the night. The strip thundered with noise, cheers, screams, sirens somewhere far off. The truth had escaped into the world. But the men in black didn't care about truth. They cared about control. And they were closing in. One lunged for me. I swung the mic like a weapon, smashing it into his arm. He stumbled, but another reached for Maya. Moss barreled forward, slamming the smoking rig into the attacker's chest. It cracked with sparks, and the man went down. The crowd scattered, chaos blooming. Some ran, some filmed, some even tried to block the enforcers, emboldened by fury and liquor. But there were too many of them, and they were disciplined. Maya screamed, clutching the flash drive. "Nova, they'll take it!" I grabbed her wrist. "Then we make sure if they take us, they still lose." She nodded, eyes blazing. Moss roared, throwing the ruined rig onto the pavement. The casing burst open, guts spilling wires and smoke. He stomped hard, shattering the drive bay. "No more secrets," he growled. "It's all already out." The enforcers paused, just briefly, realizing the files were gone. But then their leader stepped forward, tall, scar down his jaw. The same man I'd seen on the rooftop, Watcher's shadow. "Nova Hale," he said, calm as stone. "You won your little theater, but theaters burn down, stories fade. What you started tonight will drown in the noise." I met his gaze, my chest heaving. "Then I'll keep telling it, louder, every day, until even you can't hide." His jaw tightened. For the first time, I saw something crack. Fear. Then sirens split the night. Actual police this time, shoving through the crowd, shouting orders. Lights strobed red and blue across the strip. The enforcers shifted, restless. Their leader sneered, then gave a curt signal. And like shadows, they dissolved back into the crowd, vanishing as if they'd never been there. My knees almost gave out. Maya held me upright, her hands trembling. Moss leaned against a wall, smoke still curling from his burned machine. We weren't safe, not yet, but we were still standing, and so was the story. I raised my voice one last time, hoarse but defiant. You saw this with your own eyes? Don't let them bury it. Share it. Remember it. Because truth only dies if we stop telling it. Phones lifted again, 100 tiny beacons against the neon dark. And in the silence that followed, I knew we had survived the night, but the war was far from over. By dawn, the strip looked like a battlefield. Screens hung dark, some still cracked from the overload. Pavement was littered with glass, smoke, and the faint scorch of what we'd unleashed. Tourists who had live-streamed the chaos were long gone, their shaky videos already circling the globe. Maya sat beside me on the curb, exhaustion painted across her face. She still clutched the empty flash drive shell, as if holding onto a relic. Moss leaned against a lamppost, coughing from the smoke. We're not going to walk away clean from this, he muttered. I nodded slowly. No, but the truth is out, and that's what matters. My phone buzzed with notifications, thousands of them. Mentions, retweets, videos stitched together with hashtags. My name was everywhere. So was Ethan's. So was the network's fraud. Maya glanced at me. You're trending worldwide, Nova. I laughed, though it came out cracked. Not the fame I wanted. Then another message lit my phone, from a number I didn't recognize. Good work, storyteller. You turned the blackout into fire. We'll be watching. Watcher. For a long time, I stared at that line, the words heavy with both warning and promise. Moss kicked at the broken rig. So what now? I looked at them both. My unlikely allies, battered but unbroken. The strip still smoldering around us. The world already rewriting what happened in shaky captions and half-truths. What now, I said, standing, my voice raw but steady. We keep telling it, louder, clearer, until they can't bury it, until they choke on the truth. The sun broke over the desert horizon, washing the ruins in gold. For the first time, I didn't feel humiliated or hunted. I felt alive, because the truth had a voice again, and it was mine.